A Shane team with this kind of score is pretty amazing, honestly.
7K dreamer please.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We'll be looking at Awaken Aris' remake in Castle Rush. As you see, the first run I had already hit 300,000 and I was using the Shane team. So first things first, before you go in, remember to set your team leader to physical and also set your masteries to what I have done over here. Increase physical attack and increase lethal damage. So this is my lineup. I'm pretty sure you can use this team for all days from now on, and all you need to do is change the traits depending on the boss you face. I have also chosen a friend Evan. You can actually go for friend Shane if you want. So first things first is to cast your crit buff. However, the alternative is if Rook actually casts his shields first, then remove them and cast Phoenix as the first two skills, then followed by Lena's buff. I'm using Lena's buff here because Rook didn't cast his shield, so there's nothing to get rid of, and I'm just wasting time trying to wait for him to get his shields up before I can do something. So yeah, all these useless skills, Blaze, totally does nothing. So finally he gets his shields up. I'm gonna use Aqua Blaster first, then I'll use Phoenix, and then Aris' top skill. So Aris' top skill is actually very useful because it decreases block rate of the enemies by 30% for 3 turns, and it also cleanses your entire team's debuffs. So that's very good. And Aris has a taunt, so as you saw, all the enemies are attacking her. All their single target skills are also attacking her, and if you realize, she has evaded some of those attacks because she has an evasion ring on her. So every counter she has, she will decrease your entire team's cooldown, which is very useful for Shane as a DPS, so she can continuously spam her skills. And in Castle Rush, Aris can protect your entire team, reducing 40% of the damage they take. And if you just saw here, Shane actually targeted Rook, and unlike before, she doesn't go for the backline 7 Knight despite having lethal stats, okay? So she can actually target the front line now without any issue. I think how it works now is that you do have to land some damage on the front line via, Phoenix or via Aris' top skill. I think either way, as long as you land some damage on the front line, Shane will target them first, which is very, very useful because it helps you to get a much better score compared to in the past, whereby you can only use the Shane team in the early part of the day. As you see here, Jave's HP is already down to half and my Shane is still targeting the front line. So I think something has changed here and it's for the better. So light shields up again, do the same thing. I didn't click fast enough, but it's okay. Just gonna waste an entire turn. Use Tara's skill first, Rachel, and then Aris. So the reason why I'm doing this skill queue is because I want to preserve Rachel's debuff. So imagine if you cast Rachel's debuff first. You're gonna waste 2 more turns because you're gonna remove shields and you're gonna do something else, and by the time Shane actually gets to attack, the debuff is already gone down by a few turns, and that's not what you want. So I'm gonna keep the debuff actually. And why am I preserving Aris' top skill last? Because she only reduces block rate for 4 turns, so you want to keep that as near to Shane as possible, as near to Shane's skills as possible. Otherwise, if you cast that first and then you do other stuff, by the time Shane attacks, the enemies won't have the debuff left anymore. So just take note that Jave's Dragon Fury skill, it actually decreases your entire team's defense by 80%, and that is not a debuff that you want to have with you, so always heal up whenever he uses that skill, or you can use Aris' top skill to cleanse as well. And over here, Chancellor dies. I managed to land the crit and lethal together, which really gave me a very good score, 63,000 damage. That was what Shane did. Very, very good damage, and that is also thanks to Aris' top skill because, reduce the block rate of them by 30%. So it can actually help Shane to land her crits better. So something you may observe is that my other heroes are really not taking too much damage because Aris is the one tanking everything and she tanks it super well. Okay, her Awaken passive also increases her defense by 30%, which makes her even tankier than her regular passive, which allows her to decrease the damage she takes by 30%. So there's a lot of buff for her, and she is an amazing tank. Having taunt and being a tank herself is possibly the best combination you can ever ask for. So your other heroes are going to be completely protected. Of course, not against AoE skills, but at least you won't be targeted by all the lethal attacks, low HP, targeting or whatsoever. So it really helps you focus just on Shane's skill, their enemies' debuffs, as well as Aris' HP. And basically I think that's the three main things you need to look out for. Thank goodness my Shane also landed the crit and lethal on Rook here and killed him instantly. Rook does have higher HP than Chancellor, I think. I'm not too sure, but it just feels that way. Or maybe just slightly higher block rate. So now you're left with Jave, and just repeat the same processes. Make sure that your Phoenix debuff is always applied on Jave, and make sure you cast your Lina's crit buff so that you can ensure that Shane has sufficient damage output. So with this skill, I actually land the crit on Jave, and you may not be that lucky all the time because Jave has very high block rate. And even after I land with Aris' top skill, the 30% reduction in block rate, it can still lead to a lot of attacks being blocked. And I think at this point, it is really by luck, whether he defends against your attack or he doesn't. And if he doesn't defend against your attack, and you do land Shane's skill with crit and lethal, the approximate amount of damage each Shane skill can do is about 13,000. That's what I've observed from other runs, not in this particular match because I didn't manage to land a crit and lethal attack on Jave. But in other runs, I have seen her do about 13,000 per skill, and I think if she can consistently do that, I think it's very good for your score. And with this Shane team alone, overall score for Castle Rush today is about 1,300,000. So I was super close to be able to auto clear this. Unfortunately, I misplayed sometimes. Okay, especially when you do not cleanse the debuff after Jave lands his defense reduction, because if you don't clear that debuff and he uses his left side skill, that is gonna instantly kill you, I can assure you, okay? That damage output from there is insanely huge. So you always have to clear the debuff if he lands it on you. And last thing for Lina's healing, make sure you do it consistently. Always observe Aris' HP and Shane's HP, of course. You cannot let both of them die because they are the most crucial ones. I would wish that we can let Tara die because she's really of no use after the 4-minute mark, as you saw. So you have to just keep in mind all these things. And Jave's damage output also increases a whole lot, especially at this point of the match. And yes, we didn't even get to use our friend Evan, and the entire match is ending. So it is a really good run. It could be better, of course, if Shane's crit and lethals landed properly, but oh well, I'm not really complaining. So this is my score, 350,000 in total with the research center effect. And we'll move on to hero builds. So for Shane, I've given her 1 lethal and 1 crit. Having lethal doesn't matter anymore because she can still target the front line. Double HP because Aris is gonna be the main counter, so there's no need for counter on her anymore. PvE skill cooldown, crit rate, as well as PvE crit damage and lethal damage. So I left the crit rate on her so that, you know, she is able to do more consistent damage. And with Lina's 50% buff, I think this already pushes it to 112%. So actually for the masteries you saw earlier, you can actually increase lethal rate instead so that Shane can have a higher chance to deal lethal damage. And then for her accessory, I've given her chance to attack twice on basic attack. This may also be changed to lethal rate increase so that she can have more damage output, and I think that will be a much better choice because you're not relying her for counter anymore. For her traits, I've given her crit rate, stun resist and counter, and the only reason why I have these traits is because I don't have the topaz to change them. So if you have crit rate, lethal rate and increased damage on universal, that would be so much better. So if you can appropriately change those traits, go ahead, okay? And then we have Tara, double HP, 1 myth, block rate, PvE defense, and defense reduction from block, and also evasion accessory. I think the evasion accessory is still very useful for her, so do give her that. The traits don't matter because for Jave, he doesn't really land any particular status effect, so you don't have to give your frontline units or any of your units a specific resistance. Okay, so this is just the basic setup for Tara. She survives pretty well, and if she is about to die, you can always use her Awaken skill to heal her back completely. For Rachel, I'm going with a more block-based strategy. That means double block, block rate duo, increase awakening gauge and PvE defense, and for her accessory, decrease fixed damage by 40%. Her traits don't matter as well because Jave doesn't do any specific status effect. And then for Lina, if you are actually familiar with the Reflect team, whatever I had on Hayoung, I have actually transferred it to Lina. So double lethal, 2 myth weapons to really boost her magic attack so that she heals a lot more, 2 HP armor, 1 myth so that she has more bulk. So yeah, the raid jewels are here, increase PvE magic attack, recovery skill and PvE skill cooldown so that she can heal more efficiently. Also, I've given her the evasion rate here so that there are times where she may just evade attacks and preserve her HP. Of course, you can give her increased block rate as well. I think that is also very beneficial for her, but I think the low percentage won't really make a difference. Finally, for Aris, the star of the video. Weapons don't matter, counter raid armor, okay, if it's not Myth Awaken, it's also okay, but Myth Awaken allows her to lifesteal. I don't think the lifesteal will be that much anyway, so it doesn't really matter. For her jewels, counter raid jewel is the most important, and status effect resist will be good if you are using her for all other days. And the traits themselves, you have to rotate them. Counter rate trait is a must for her so that you boost her counter rate. As you see over here, mine is at 91%. For accessory, I've given her evasion so that she can preserve her HP as well, and it's actually very effective and useful for her. So that's all I have for this video on Awaken Aris' remake. She is an incredible unit to have, and I hope this review showed that she is very capable and is definitely a must-have for your Castle Rush team. So do give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more guides. Thank you so much and see you!